The SS Eastland was a passenger ship based in Chicago and used for tours. The ship was packed, with many passengers standing on the open upper decks, and began to list slightly to the port side, away from the wharf. Sometime during the next 15 minutes, a number of passengers rushed to the port side, and soon, Eastland lurched sharply to port, and then rolled completely onto her port side, coming to rest on the river bottom, which was only 20 feet below the surface. Barely half the vessel was submerged. Many other passengers had already moved below decks on this relatively cool and damp morning to warm themselves before the departure. By 7:30, the Eastland was lying on its side in 20 feet of murky water, still tied to the dock. The vessel rolled so quickly, there was no time to launch the life-saving equipment. As the boat settled on its side, many passengers simply climbed over the starboard railing and walked across the exposed hull to safety, never even getting their feet wet. These were the lucky ones. When the boat toppled on its side, those on the upper deck were hurled off like so many ants being brushed from a table, wrote Harlan Babcock. In an instant, the surface of the river was black with struggling, crying, frightened, drowning humanity. We infants floated about like corks. By 8 a.m., almost all of the survivors had been pulled from the river. Then came the gruesome task of locating and removing bodies. Although the ship was only 20 feet from the wharf, and in spite of the quick response by the crew of a nearby vessel, Kenosha, which came alongside the hull to allow those stranded on the capsized vessel to leap to safety, a total of 844 passengers and 4 crew members died in the disaster. By noon, divers and rescue workers finally reached bodies that had been trapped underwater in the portside cabins. After that time, all the bodies that came up seemed to be women and children. 7 priests arrived to hear confessions or administer last rites. There was little work for them. One reporter wrote, "The results of the Eastland somersault could be phrased in 2 words: living or dead." Just 10 weeks earlier, the Lusitania had been torpedoed and sunk, with a death toll of 785 passengers. In 1912, 829 passengers had died aboard the Titanic, plus 694 crew members. Both of those disasters took place on the high seas. After the Eastland rolled, 844 passengers died on a sluggish urban river, 20 feet from the dock. %70 of them were under the age of 25. By July 29, all of the bodies lying in the Armory morgue had been claimed except one. A boy identified only as number 396, who had been nicknamed Little Feller by police and morgue workers. The body was taken to a funeral home, where 2 children recognized him as their friend Willie Novotny, age 7. He had lain unclaimed because his parents, James, the cabinet maker, and his mother, Agnes, had died on the Eastland along with his 9-year-old sister, Mamie. Little Feller, now, had a name.